you will have massive benefits in speeding up, keeping high quality. This will have a major impact for patients because we can speed up, we can get less expensive, meaning the drugs on the market, they will get cheaper and will be available for the patients earlier, and maybe the insurance payers will pay with a higher probability. With the new digital formats, you have a higher probability that you have a good understanding, and that's why a person is deciding to participate. So it's increasing the acceptance and willingness to participate. And with AI, the whole model is changing, right? So digitalization for sure will become a basis and a must and no longer a nice to have. With the video, you can start from scratch again and again and again and have a repeated lecture. If you can't recall, you just visit it again and watch it again.
Mm-hmm. All right, welcome to another episode of Visual Minds by Simple. We're joined today by Jessica. We're going to talk about a topic that we haven't really covered in other episodes yet, which is a bit of healthcare, pharma, biotech, video and consulting, and training in more professional cases. So it's going to be a very interesting episode. But let's start first with a short intro from Jessica herself. What is it that you do?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. I'm working in the pharma environment, as you mentioned before, especially in clinical trials. So whenever it gets a drug developed to a stage where it's getting tested in human beings, this is my focus topic and my area I'm working on to help small organizations especially to plan and conduct the clinical trials according to all the regulatory requirements we see in this field. Yeah, and that's me. So I started my business 2 years ago, bit more than 2 years, as a consultant for especially small companies. But I also added the stream of training to share my own experience and my expertise with way more than just sponsor organizations. So I'm running good clinical practice courses via an online format. So it's an on-demand course, providing some templates in the area of clinical trials, because I think it's complementary to the consulting business.
Amazing. Well, what is it that made you start your own company?
Well, actually, the area of drug development is developing quite heavily in the last years. We see way more guideline updates, more and more complex regulatory requirements we need to comply with. And at some point, I had the feeling I need to share my knowledge with just more than one company. So that was the motivation to start my own business that is allowing me to work with more than one company. And on the other hand, also developing myself by seeing more than one company. So you can learn different mentalities, different organizational structures, even different disease areas and the way clinical trials are being planned and conducted. So I have the feeling I'm growing as well by running my own business.
Very, very interesting. And then maybe first to give the audience a bit of a background on the industry and your work in clinical trials in general, very briefly, how does it work and how do you help companies to set this up and what do you consult them on?
Yeah, so actually it's starting with a protocol. So you need to have a project in mind and design the project, which is the investigation of the drug that is not commercially available to test it in human beings. So we are going through different questions here. So first of all, is it tolerable? Is it safe? And once you clarify these questions, you can ask the question whether it's working, right? And there are so many documents you need to create to define your project. This is where I can help in finding the right design, because there are so many different things you can do and how you collect data on human beings, but also writing all these documents and creating processes, who needs to be informed, which data need to be documented, all this kind of stuff, how the different parties being involved, like the patients, the physicians, any vendors, and the sponsor who is financing the whole clinical trial, how they are working together, which systems to use, all that stuff is something I can help in the planning phase, but also overseeing it in the conduct phase, that everybody's following the plan you had initially. And obviously we need to have approvals from regulatory bodies and also from the ethical bodies. And this is something you need to ensure before you start, right? You can't just go to humans for a good reason.
And you've been in this industry for a while now. What have you seen changing over time, and in particular, maybe in the last couple of years with AI coming in?
Yeah, actually, I'm coming to 20 years now, more or less. So yes, it is a while. And the first clinical trials, the first projects were still paper-based. Then I've seen how the industry is getting digitalized with electronic systems to be used to capture data. And with AI, the whole model is changing, right? So digitalization for sure will become a basis and a must and no longer a nice to have. But you also need to ensure data governance and system validation topics. And this is where small organizations with very lean teams are struggling with. And then the whole AI framework now, like the EU AI Act, plays a crucial role. And you need to add AI governance models to your clinical trial to oversee these vendors. And this will change the way of working. And especially the lean organizations, they are struggling to develop along the regulatory requirements. But on the
Uh-huh.
other side, I do see AI can help with a lot of things and will bring a benefit once you manage it to get it implemented. You will have massive benefits in speeding up, keeping high quality. And in the end, yes, you need to pay for an adequate AI tool, but it will be less than you would pay for a vendor doing it on a manual basis. So in the end, overall, I'm expecting a budget decrease, and this will have a major impact for patients because we can speed up, we can get less expensive, meaning the drugs on the market will have a minimized price. They will get cheaper and will be available for the patients earlier, and maybe the insurance payers will pay with a higher probability.
I think on one hand, for sure, like you said, is the time to market from development of a drug. It's being sped up massively. But I think also even one step earlier with AI models itself, discovering new combination of molecules. It's also outstanding how they do that now. So how does a project with a client for you look like from beginning to end? How do you help them?
Yeah, in best case, they do have an idea and get me in to help specifying the idea. So I'm really coming from the operational perspective. So my business is clinical project management as area. I can help them defining a project that is operationally feasible for the physicians and patients. This will increase the success rate of the project because you can collect the data as planned and you're not struggling in the end. You don't need to amend your specifications, which will always lead to a delay and also budget increase. So this is where I can help in the conceptual work, how to plan a clinical trial and write the protocol and all associated functional plans and documents. But also when it comes to vendor selection, that's one of the first activities. Usually the small companies are going with one main partner. They are called contract research organizations who are bringing a lot of service on the plate, but you need to have a specific way of selecting your partners and have a structured documentation around. And this is where I can help as well. So I created templates already to speed up the whole process. And even those templates, even if you don't work with me, you can buy them on my platform. So it's also speeding up if you have a proper team, but not the documentation, then you can buy those templates. If you're missing the team or you're very lean, you can ask me for consulting service as well. So I can help in getting everything ready, project specific, even conducting the activities like selecting the vendor, talking to the vendor, negotiating the contracts, reviewing the budget, all the stuff to get ready. And then it's really about what this partner is doing to oversee that they are doing it in a good way. So usually as a sponsor of a clinical trial, you review and approve documents, and this is something I can take over as well for a lot of things. Yeah, and ensure that they are working in compliance with all the regulatory aspects. So as mentioned before, the regulatory requirements have changed dramatically. On one hand, you need to get very specific in a structured documentation. On the other hand, the clinical trials from the design perspective are getting more and more complex and innovative with new ways of designs, and you need to document everything, right? So it's a lot of effort to bring things on paper or in a digital way, and to oversee that you're doing it or your partner is doing it in a correct way. But in the end, the inspector will ask you, the financing party, the sponsor, show me evidence that they have done their job. And that's why the small organizations need to have a proper training concept and have the documentation ready.
I know, and it sounds like clinical trials is a very documentation heavy process, and you're already doing so much work with the templates that you provide. But what was interesting about your approach is that you're also using other formats. So not just text, but visual ways of bringing across knowledge. Can you tell a little about that?
Yeah, indeed. So keeping the environment of a clinical trial, I think we are still way behind the technology perspective. So for example, you need to inform the patients about the project you are planning, and the patient or the participant, maybe it's a healthy person, needs to be informed in a lay person language what you're planning and how that or what that mean for this person, and you need to collect a written consent that this person will voluntarily participate. And usually this is a paperwork, and you come up with 20 to 60 pages. If you want to have a true layperson language, maybe you're more with the 60 pages. And think about an cancer patient almost dying, late stage disease. Is that person reading 60? I have my doubts, and this is where visuals and videos plays a crucial role for me from the marketing perspective, but also from the information and educational perspective, to use these clinical trial specific documents and prepare videos, explanatory videos that are giving a nice format for the patients to understand what is meant, because you can combine also visuals in the video, and you hear it, and you can use layperson language this way to increase the understanding even for the complexity of the clinical trial. And this is something we are not yet using to the maximum. I think there's a huge potential. And here AI plays a crucial role, because in old days, you needed a marketing organization, an agency. You paid 6-digit budgets for them to create a video for you, because this must be ready before submitting everything to the ethic committees and the regulatory bodies, because these formats need to be approved as well. So it took a long time. Usually you don't have that, and quite a budget. Usually you don't have, right? And this is where, for me, AI solutions who are creating videos have a massive benefit, because you can play around, you can have different styles, different languages. It's easy to create within a week, and you have your whole set of videos available. You can transcribe, and then you submit them to the regulatory bodies, and it's not too much from the financial part impacting your budget. So I think it's a nice way to increase the use cases where we use those formats, because it's getting more and more easy to create videos.
So what is the key info that you're trying to deliver to someone that's participating in a trial? So where
Everything.
traditionally it was a very long, complex document, what are the key things from that complex document that need to come across to the reader or watcher maybe?
Yeah, definitely. You need to explain the disease again. So which is the patient population you're looking for? You need to explain the whole design, whether you have different possibilities to get different drugs or a different dose. What is the drug the person is getting in the end? And this per se is also very complex, right? How much or how many visits are planned? How often the participant needs to go to a doctor? Which kind of data are being collected? All this kind of stuff, which is very complex. And if you can provide that by a video, it's much easier to transfer this information. And I would even go beyond that aspect. If think about a pediatric clinical trial. Here we are looking for children. And how cool would it be to have an app you can provide or a video you can provide in a very childish way that children can understand? So I've seen knights who are fighting against specific body cells because this was the disease the drug was working on. So they transferred the scientific knowledge into a comic style to provide the knowledge to the patients.
And do you actually notice something in how people respond to it or the behavior in people, whether they consume a text or long form document or a different format?
Yeah. With the new digital formats, you have a higher probability that you have a good understanding, and that's why a person is deciding to participate. Because if you don't create understanding, the person might struggle and is hesitant, and in the end you get a no, and the person is not participating, right? So it's increasing the acceptance and willingness to participate, but it can also increase the compliance that this person who is attending a clinical trial is also following the protocol and the procedures you have planned. Because by education, well, if you use educational videos also for specific aspects, why you're doing specific assessments, why the person needs to go to the doctor that often, and have explanations and understand the rationale, then this person will follow much closer to your plan. And this gives you more data, more accurate data to analyze your clinical trial in the end. So you increase the acceptance again.
That's amazing, actually. So it kind of forms this kind of an FAQ
Yeah.
style-ish document or like format that answers every most important question that potential participants could have. In the end, oh yeah.
I wanted to add one aspect, because if the patient is well informed and knows what to do, it's also decreasing the burden for the physician being involved, because the physician can focus while seeing the participant. The physician can focus on the medical aspects and don't need to explain administrative aspects, because this is already covered by educational videos, for example. So you have higher quality in the time you see the doctor because you are well informed and can raise specific questions already and can focus on the medical aspects. So it's a win-win on every end.
Do you also get concerns with the details that may be left out in a summary version of like 6-page document? Because in these cases, the details do matter quite a lot.
I agree. And there are no hard facts around this, but again, coming back to the oncology example, if you have a cancer patient, I have doubts that this document is read line by line. And that's why I believe you have that shadow number that people are signing based on the verbal explanation of physicians without even reading the document properly. And understanding the document is a different story.
Fair enough. So that there still remains some work for the human professional to actually assess, has the person actually understand what the implications are of participating in the trial?
Definitely, you need the human interaction. It will not go away, but you can support this interaction becoming a high quality time between the physician and the participant or patient in educating the participant before. And this is where videos can play a crucial role. And the other benefit is, once the participant is leaving the physician, there's no chance to go back and review again what has been said. With a video, you can start from scratch again and again and again and have a repeated lecture. If you can't recall, you just visit it again and watch it again. So it's still available and you can't give the doctor a call at any time. Then you might need to wait for a long time. Then you are annoyed and you are no longer trying. And if you have something like a Q&A video, you can have a video library with every question and answers, and that's easily prepared these days. And I think it's a huge benefit of informing the patient and keeping the patient informed.
Let's talk a bit about the whole concept of starting your own company, sign for yourself with yourself. How did that go? How do you get new clients, for example? How do you make sure that you're being out there and keep winning new clients and keep being visible?
Oh, tough cookie. Actually, I think you need to cover business development, marketing aspects. being by yourself or running a company per se, right? I think it's nothing different from me than other vendors in this area, or even the pharma and biotech companies who need to do marketing for themselves as well. If nobody is aware of you, you will not get financing, you will not get employees, you will not get the patients recruited to your clinical trial. You can look from different angles. It's coming back to business development and marketing. And thinking about marketing activities these days, they get digitalized as well, right? We are way more active in the online space than before. So for me, I'm using LinkedIn as a social media platform for business purposes primarily. And I'm trying to mix formats here as well. So honestly, I'm using videos for marketing activities here while summarizing papers, summarizing guidelines. Maybe I've read an article I want to summarize, and I'm using the text, but I'm also using images, infographics, but also videos, and mixing them up, because I believe, considering somebody is following me, you want to get interesting content. And I'm always trying to add value and give content, and not only, there are a lot of bloody blah, hey, I'm joining a conference, I'm on vacation stuff, which is a fair point you need to have as well. But I'm also trying to teach via my marketing activities. And considering I'm writing a newsletter, then I'm feeding the newsletter into an AI tool and creating a video out of it as a summary, and just high level with the main points of the newsletter without going into deep details, for sure. Hey, this newsletter is about blah, 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 blah. So the video is explaining the whole concept. And if you want to learn more, sign up for the newsletter and you get the next edition, right? So it's like teaser what has been discussed without explaining into details what has been discussed, because obviously this is something I'm providing via the newsletter. But sometimes I'm also summarizing guidelines. Hey, we have a new guideline. There are new regulatory requirements. And it's a nice way, if you have an explanatory video with icons showing you the concept of the guideline, it's easier to understand. You grab the key aspects immediately while watching a 1-minute video. And if you have the feeling, oh, that's impacting my daily life, then you can go into the LinkedIn article and go to the guideline because it's online available, right?
And so how important is marketing for you? Because I would think, as being an outsider from this industry, that it can also be very network and trust driven, like any client that you're going to work with. So how important is marketing then in the end?
It is, because marketing is also covering the current clients. For me, it's about showing the world I'm here as a consultant and trainer, meaning increasing my visibility for my clients I had worked with, I'm currently working with, but also potential clients I want to work with in future. Just as a reminder, I'm here. I really hope I'm able to create a relationship with people, because I'm also talking about myself, my business, but I'm also giving content and knowledge. I'm sharing my expertise to create the feeling that they can trust me. I am an expert. I have worked in that industry as an employee of companies since a while. Before I started my own business, I was my own client before. So I know what's on, and I'm seeing different companies now. I can address points I see when they got inspected, for example, when they want to try implementing AI into their business. I'm learning quite a lot about AI these days. I got TÜV certified manager for applied AI transformation. So I know how to structure the process of getting AI in and how to select vendors, etc. Yeah, I think marketing is the key driving aspect to find projects, to make you visible, to give the people the feeling they can trust you because you can show off with your expertise. It's about networking for sure, right? But you can also network via LinkedIn. So it's just one component of marketing, and it's getting more and more important for me because we are in a remote setting. Usually there are less and less in-person meetings. So you need to have this digital component to keep the relationship you have started in an offline setting and bring that into the online setting as well.
Well, what's quite interesting about your work is that you create content both on the brand building side with marketing and external facing, but also client facing content at the same time. Like what key principles do you keep in mind when distinguishing which of the two you're making today, for example?
Yeah, those are two different worlds.
Mhm.
When you want to create videos for clinical trials, you need to think regulatory, right? You need to be aware how you need to create the videos to comply with all the settings in the clinical trial. For example, simple example, you can't use promotional language. This is not allowed, right? Where on the other side, when I'm doing marketing for myself and I created an online course, so I do have those on-demand courses, I'm getting promotional, obviously. I'm trying to find the pain point and
Mhm.
put the finger into the pain point saying, hey, my course is giving you a solution. You can learn how to get more productive and save time, that you have a good work-life balance. And this is not allowed in clinical trials. You can't get promotional. You can't say, hey, this drug will help you, because you don't know. Right? So you need to consider these aspects. You can't bring your brand colors into clinical trial videos, which you definitely do when you go for the marketing world, right? So there is a clear split what is allowed and what is not allowed. Although you can follow marketing concepts and marketing psychology for the clinical trials as well. And I think that's something the industry needs to learn dramatically and use way more than we are seeing it, like storytelling concepts, hero stories and those kind of stuff, but not from the marketing and promotional perspective. Here we are coming from the educational perspective. And this is where I'm using the videos for my online training courses as well. They are not promotional. They are also educational, truly educational. They are providing content, right?
Mhm. Makes a lot of sense. I want to finish with one question, which is, since you have like years of experience and started for yourself solo, you took the leap. What's the advice that you would give to other people that are in doubt whether to take the same leap?
Just do it. Trust yourself and do it.
Trust yourself and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the main point to reach the decision point. Just do it. Be brave and do it. Because I believe a lot of people are thinking about it, but they are not brave enough to make the decision and do it. Don't overthink things. Yes, you need to cover a lot of activities you haven't seen before, but it's doable. And you need to sell yourself to yourself first before you can sell yourself to others. So you need to be brave, make the decision to do that and start the path and then do it.
Okay, amazing. That's a very hopeful note to end this conversation on, I think. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
So to everyone, go ahead and visit your website, read the newsletter, watch the courses, follow Jessica on LinkedIn and the other socials. And again, thanks so much for being part of this one.